So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today our workshop is going to be on the SOC Analyst career and the CompTIA's CySA Plus certification. So as you know, my name is Harshini and I am the president of WiCyS, and we also have John Ford. And you can go ahead, John, with your introduction.
Hello, I'm the treasurer of CyberHawks Security, or more commonly known as CyberHawks.
Cool, thank you so much.
So on today's agenda, here's what we're going to be going over. First thing we're going to be going over is what is a SOC analyst. The next thing we're going to be going over is what is the CySA Plus certification. And at the end, we'll take questions and hopefully answer them to the best of our ability.
Yep, thank you. So to start off, SOC analyst, the SOC stands for Security Operations Center. So within the SOC, there are a team of security professionals and SOC analysts. So a SOC analyst works alongside the team with upper management and even above to monitor an organization's network traffic and identify signs of bad activity on the network. So they are in charge of looking through all of the logs and making sure that everything looks okay. And if there is maybe some type of malicious activity, say someone downloaded something they shouldn't have, or there is some type of IP address that keeps trying to access the network, they would be able to identify it and spread the word and figure out how to remediate that. Additionally, a SOC analyst is a very great entry-level role. Currently, that is the role that I have. I am a SOC analyst at a startup cybersecurity company called Conquest Cyber. And what we do is basically provide SOCs for other companies. So a company will come to us and say, can you guys help us with our security operations? And we will take on the role of doing that work. So instead of having their own SOC, they have given us that privilege to take care of their security. So SOC analysts specifically are very important because of their critical thinking capabilities. It can be quite difficult to differentiate between real malicious activity and just a false positive. So SOC analysts do a lot of research and analysis into various security incidents, and they also help with the incident response team to help them understand exactly what happened and then help them develop a plan to resolve the incident.
So here you can see kind of the average salary that a SOC analyst would get, anywhere from 47K to 97K. And the job titles associated with the responsibilities of a SOC analyst are also as follows. This means that as a SOC analyst, you can kind of go into any one of these areas. You can be a threat intelligence analyst, vulnerability analyst, and etc. Now we're going to kind of look into what a SOC analyst does every day. Basically, as an overview, they look through network traffic. They go into what's called an SIEM system, and that system basically collects logs from different machines and analyzes those logs and the network traffic and sees what sorts of connections are being made, what sorts of things are being done on the machines. Then the analyst will record any kind of malicious behavior that they find on their network, and they can record the case and pass it on to somebody else who's going to take a closer look at it and determine how to actually deal with the threat.
So to go further into detail about the network traffic analysis, usually the SIM system, like John said, it could be for any type of machine. So in this example, we're going to talk about a firewall. So firewalls basically are logging what type of traffic that's coming in and out of a network. That's one of the things they can do. So in a network traffic log, it will maybe record IP addresses or ports and who's accessing them and where they're going. So given that information, there is a couple tools that analysts may use to identify if an IP address is bad or if a file is bad. So two of them are called virustotal.com and talosintelligence.com. And I think it would be a really cool idea for those of you who are watching. Go ahead and search that into your search bar, and you can kind of see what kind of platform that is. Basically, you enter a URL or an IP address, and it will do a full scan on it and see if there are any other antivirus solutions that have noticed this URL or IP to be a bad one. So this is a screenshot of a popular SIM system called Kibana. And here the example is a spike in traffic. So when you get a spike, sometimes it can be, so see how it's all like 000, and then all of a sudden there's something over there. So that can be a potential indicator of bad traffic. So what they did here is find out what is the port number that was affected and what is the IP that it's coming from. So with that information, you can say, okay, the port is 445. So is that in a very important port? Or you can use the IP address that the traffic came from and put it into one of those tools to double check, is that traffic okay? And this is just one specific, very, very specific example of how you would use a SIM system. There are tons of different appliances, not even just firewalls, that you could look at and get more data and information into. So let's say that after we looked at that case and we found that spike in traffic in the last slide, we would say we found out that maybe that IP was malicious. The next step would be to create a case about it. You would summarize the event, determine how severe it was. So if you're 100% sure that this is detrimental to the operations of the company, you would probably say it's a critical severity case. And if it's just, oh, it's not so bad, but you want someone to know that it happened, then maybe a low. So you would describe the event in detail. You would tell them how exactly you came to the conclusion. How do you know that it's bad traffic? How do you know that it could be a threat? And where was the traffic coming from and going to? So what was the source IP? What's the destination IP? What's the source port? And what's the destination port? So you would record the names of all of the ports and the IPs, and then also in this case, we would record the name of the appliance affected, which was a firewall. So after you create a case, for more severe cases, like a high severity case or a critical level case, you would escalate those to a higher level analyst. So during this presentation, we're all assuming that we are at the lowest level of SOC analyst. So and that's called a tier 1 analyst. So the escalated alerts would go to a tier 2 or a tier 3. And they will then determine what action should be taken. Either there's going to be an incident response plan, or in my company, what we do is send the information we collected to the client if it's severe enough. And then they will determine if they want to take it forward or not.
So here are some of the skills that you will need as an SOC analyst or SOC analyst. Includes network defense, ethical hacking, incident response, computer forensics, and reverse engineering. And especially the biggest one is network defense. And some of the certifications that can help you look good for potential employers as a SOC analyst are the CompTIA CySA Plus certification, which we are going to talk about next in this presentation. The CompTIA Security Plus certification, which we talked about in the last workshop, if you attended that. And then here are two other certifications that would help you get a job as a SOC analyst.
Thank you, John and Harshni. So, hi guys, I am Anushka and I'll be taking you over the CySA Plus certification, which is offered by CompTIA. It is a very well-known non-profit organization that issues professional certifications for IT industry. This This certification is an ID workforce certification that applies behavioral analytics to networks and devices to prevent, detect, and combat cybersecurity threats through continuous security monitoring. This particular certification will validate candidates' ability to not only proactively capture, monitor, and respond to network traffic findings, but also emphasizes software and application security, automation, threat hunting, and ID regulatory compliance, which affects the daily work of security analysts. So, what is the certification? To know more about it, here we have listed some important points. The certification will have 85 multiple choice questions, which will be performance based. You'll have 165 minutes to clear to answer those questions, and you need at least a score of 750. This certification emphasizes hands-on practical skills and focuses on the latest trends and techniques. There's special discounts for students, so if you're planning to get this one, you should register as a student, and you'll get a special prize. There are certain benefits of taking this exam. First of all, and I think this is the most important and crucial one, it attracts a lot of employers and recruiters. If you add this certification in your resume, you will definitely see a lot of attention coming in right after you add it. So, because this is a widely considered one of the essential foundation security analyst certifications in this cybersecurity industry today. You'll have access to jobs you want: security analyst, threat intelligence analyst, application security analyst, security engineer, incident response, threat hunter, compliance analyst. Respected standards. It is one of it meets the ISO 17024 standard and is approved by US Department of Defense to fulfill directive of 8570.01M requirements, and it is also compliant with FISMA and more. So that's very attractive. So what skills you will learn and what's on the exam? These are the topics that are covered in the exam, and you will learn basically almost everything about threats, attacks, and vulnerability management, software and system security, compliance and assessment, security operations and monitoring, incident response. And honestly, when I'm thinking about, since I'm graduating in December, and when I'm thinking about the skills that I need to have to move forward in my career, these are the most basic ones. And these are the areas that I'd like to ensure I've covered, and I've have my skills checked on it. So this certification will definitely help me validate my own skills, and it'll give an assurance to the recruiters and the employers that, okay, this candidate has, along with the master's degree, she also has a certification with all the desired skills. Here are some sample study materials that you can look up for. There are some practice tests. Then there is CYSA plus, courses, there are textbooks, and there's also some official CompTIA prep material. These are all online. You just need to Google them, and they will be available for you. Some of the CYSA Plus courses are available on LinkedIn Learning. And I think while I was preparing for this one, I even saw some amazing videos on YouTube. So you don't need a LinkedIn subscription if you're not willing to invest your money in that. You can just go to YouTube, put in a relevant video for CYSA Plus, and you'll find enough content to clear this exam.
Thank you so much, Anushka. So one of the best ways to prepare for these certification exams is to practice questions. So when you have a bunch of questions, you kind of are able to identify where your weaknesses are and then study accordingly, because honestly, going from start to finish can be very, very time consuming. So we have prepared a few practice questions for you, and John will be taking the lead on that.
So here's one sample question. Landon created false DNS entries in his organization's DNS server to prevent employees from accidentally accessing malicious websites. What type of control is Landon deploying? So I don't know if you want to think about this and try to answer this on your own. Then we're going to reveal the answer, and I'll explain it a bit. So the answer to this is that a DNS sinkhole is what provides false responses to queries from malicious websites to prevent users from visiting those sites. Now, the other ones, like for example, a honeypot is a fake. It's a machine that's on the network that's purposely vulnerable so that attackers are lured to that machine instead of the machine that they otherwise could be attacking. So it's not that. A honeynet would be a network with a bunch of honeypots that is intended for that purpose. And the darknet is usually used for illegal peer-to-peer file sharing. So those are all different things. The answer is sinkhole. Second one, this one is more about software and system security, and it says refer to the Nmap scan results shown below and asks what operating system is the server running. So let me think about that for a bit, and then we'll reveal the answer and continue from there. All right, the answer is that it is running Windows, and there are a couple things that give that away. First of all, you'll notice that on port 3389, we seem to have that open, and that is usually used for remote desktop, which is a Windows-only thing. Yes, there are distributions on it for Linux like XRDP, but for the most part, that's a Windows thing. The second thing that really gives it away is the MS in front of MS SQL and in front of MS WBT server. The MS stands for Microsoft, and Microsoft is what provides Windows services. All right, next question. Which of the following products is not classified as a SIM? I'll let you think about that for a bit and then explain it. The answer to this one is Nexpose, because Nexpose, unlike all the other ones, is actually a vulnerability scanner instead of a SIM. Okay, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now and we'll be happy to answer them. You can also contact us through email at either of the emails provided, and we'd be happy to answer your questions that way too.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible if I can receive a copy of this presentation?
Yes, Jacqueline. We will be sharing the presentation and the recording with all of the members. And are you on the email list?
I'm currently not, no.
Okay, can you please send your email in the chat and we'll make sure to get it to you.
Of course.
If there's any other questions, if you guys don't feel comfortable speaking up, feel free to type it in the chat as well. I'll give you guys one more minute for questions. Okay, just kidding. It looks like there are no more. So thank you all so much for attending today, and feel free to share the presentation deck with any of your friends who may be interested in a cybersecurity career. We will definitely be having another one of these sessions in November, so stay tuned for our emails on the next workshop. And thank you all again for coming.